Hey everyone, Shades here. My channel is full of uninspired content and preview videos, so today, that will change. Given the fact that the community has grown, and from what I have seen in my level request streams, many don't know the basics of the GD editor. How about we review how the GD triggers work? Today in this new series of tutorials, I present to you the move trigger. When first placing the move trigger, press the button in the right that reads Edit Object. This will bring up the settings to set up your very own move command. At first, this layout of options might look a bit overwhelming. But don't worry. Once you get the basics, it is easy to fully understand. If you need help in the beginning of your learning, there's a help button in the top right corner of the screen. These are the topics that will be covered throughout this video. So the first thing that you might want to know is how the movement works from the trigger command. As said in the help box, each grid block is equal to 10 points. What does this mean? Well, as seen, movement works in two axes, X and Y. Hence, X describes movement in the horizontal axis, while Y is in charge of the vertical one. For example, let's say that we want to move a block up the grid by 1. This would be equal to moving it up 10 points. Following this ratio, 2 blocks would be 20 points, 3 would be 30, etc. It's a 1 to 10 ratio. Basically, this is how you input the values in these boxes. The amount of points. This is how the distance for the movement is set for the command to work. Let's move on to the first example. I've got this wall in front of me, and no matter what I do, no matter how hard that poor cube tries, it won't get past it. That's where the marvelous move trigger comes into action. In the bottom right corner, under the edit option, there's the swipe button. Select the option on so that it turns blue. Use this to select the entire object. Continue by clicking in the button that reads Edit Group. Here, you can input the group number that you want the object to have. I'll choose 1. Now that the object is assigned to a group, go to the move trigger and place the target ID number. This is the one you just gave to your object. In my case, once again, 1. Things get easy from here. Remember the ratio. Let's say that we want this wall to move a block up in the grid. This will open up space for the cube to pass and make the level possible. But, how about we customize it a bit more? For example, we have the freedom to change the time the movement takes to be fulfilled, or the acceleration it has. Alright, I have changed the time from 0.5 to 1 second of movement. The easing is the option that gives different accelerations and several styles to choose from. To be honest, my favorites are the back ones. Back in out, back in, back out, smooth AF baby. Well, moving on. What are those boxes below the movement point boxes? These are follow player X and follow player Y. As their name describes them, when selected these will follow the player at their speed for a fixed amount of time. When selecting X by itself, the object assigned to the group set in the trigger command will follow the player at its speed only horizontally. Thus it won't vary its movement if the player jumps, or just moves through the Y-axis vertically. Obviously, the same will happen if only follow Y is selected, just conversely. If we select both follow X and Y, then the object will vary its position through its movement in both axes simultaneously along the cube. If the cube jumps, the object will follow it up and down at a steady speed, keeping the following of the player by the object. Now, how does the touch-triggered box operate? Well, when it is selected, it is as simple as when the player comes in contact with the trigger, its command will be toggled on. If the player doesn't have contact with it, then the command will remain toggled off, and consequently, won't occur. It can be used in several useful tricks in your levels. Here's an example. There's a 4-spike jump in front of the poor cube, but he's only able to move at ×1 speed. This makes him unable to cover the distance he requires to get past the jump. He doesn't have enough energy to get past the 4 spikes. Don't be sad, little cube. Luckily, there's a key right before the jump. Once you grab it, it will make the 4th spike move out of the way, making it possible for you to continue with your way. But, how does this work? Well, there's a move trigger overlapping the key which has the touch triggered option on. It also makes the spikes group and move a block down -10 units. If you take the key, this command will occur. If not, you will die a horrible, painful death from your pathetic intent of trying to jump over a ridiculously impossible obstacle. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. What is the purpose of the spawn triggered box? Well, briefly, spawn trigger is the most important when it comes to GD coding. This could very well be a topic for another video, how it can create chains of commands triggering them through multi-trigger coding. Let's not go abroad the topic of movement. When selecting this option, it is as if we had toggled the trigger off. This will make it so that no matter what, the command won't occur. Here's the interesting part, let's place a wall that makes the level impossible, as the cube can't get past it. The only way in which this level would be possible, is if there was a move trigger to make it open a small space before the cube crashes. Oh no, the move trigger that allows the wall to move a block up 10 points, is right past it. Luckily, it is spawn triggered. If we assign this move trigger a group, and place a spawn trigger set to toggle that group's command, magic occurs. Suddenly, the action happens and the wall moves, despite the player not getting past the move trigger. This makes it so that no matter where the trigger is, if it is spawn triggered, its repercussions won't have effect until a spawn trigger makes it have its command. There can also be a delay, so if I were to set it to 1 second, the movement of the wall won't occur after a second has passed since the player crossed the spawn trigger. Impressive, am I right? If you want to learn more about this pivotal trigger, just like, subscribe and ask for it in the comments. Finally, to conclude this tutorial, what does the useTarget box do? Well, it's easy. Let's say that I have an object with group n. I also happen to have another one with group n+1. What if both objects vary from each other in their axes? Let's have 3 possible situations. First, I want my object, n+1, to reach the exact position of object, n, in both axes. Let's say that it is minus 40 points behind it in the x-axis and 10 points away in the y-axis. Instead of typing all of this data into the move command, I just select the useTarget box, select the target position ID, n, and the group ID of the moving object, n+1. Just leave it like that, and magic occurs. Second situation, I have the exact same objects, groups, n and n+1. But now, the only variation is in the x-axis, minus 40 points behind the n target. I'll do the same, I select the useTarget box, place the group values in their corresponding places, but I don't want any variation in the y-axis. So from the 2 boxes next to the target position ID, I select x only, so the movement will only reach the n object to its x position, not both. This gets us to the last outcome. I only want n+1 object to reach object n's position in the y-axis. Hence, I don't want it to get to its exact point, but rather just copy its height. I select the useTarget box, copy the ID group values of both objects in their respective places and select Y only. Once again, I get what I desired. This marks the end of the video. If you liked my take on the move trigger, if this tutorial was useful, entertaining, or just well made, leave a like. I would be well received. I know that this won't get views, but it would still be nice that if for some reason you're here and got to the end of the video, you subscribed. My dream is to get to 1,000, if some points weren't clear, don't hesitate to tell me. I'll be glad to help. The script for the video is below in the description. If you have any suggestions or want a tutorial on a certain trigger, just tell me. And as never, thanks for watching. Well, this was a new kind of video for me. I'm not confident to use my voice as of now, so I'm sorry for using text-to-speech. Even so, I think that this video turned out pretty well and really hope you enjoyed it, and more than that, that it was useful. Did it fulfill its purpose? I would love to make more of these in the future, but that depends on feedback, or even more if it actually gets views and some attention. Going aside all of the jokes, I do want to reach 1,000 subs. That would be great. If you're that great to have stayed to the end card, I invite you to check my social media down in the description, and to subscribe. I promise that from now on my channel will be more serious, with content as elaborated as this video. Thank you, friend.